Good morning. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, after a gap of 5 years, met with Chinese President Xi Jinping on October 23rd on the sidelines of the 16th BRICS summit recently in Russia. The purpose of this meeting, after a gap of 5 years, was to build trust. So the question that I will discuss in the video today is, have the two leaders been able or have they been successful in building trust between India and China? Because trust is fundamental to the bilateral relationship, to the regional geopolitics as well as the global geopolitics, absolutely important. Now, it was clear to everyone that both the leaders, on the invitation of the host, President Putin, would be traveling for the BRICS summit. But it was not clear even 2 days before, 3 days before this meeting, when it actually happened, that something would happen because nothing was announced. Then suddenly, 2 days before, on October 21st, India's Foreign Secretary announces that India and China, they have agreed to a disengagement process on the line of actual control. This was sudden announcement. It was a breaking news. Nobody expected this. And as the viewers would recall, in the last 4 years, India's Foreign Minister Jaishankar has repeatedly said that for normal relations between India and China, peace is absolutely fundamental on the line of actual control. And now the patrolling and the disengagement agreement had been reached according to the Foreign Secretary, so that requirement was fulfilled. The same day, Jaishankar was asked his comments about what the Foreign Secretary said. And please listen in to what the minister had to say.
We reached an agreement on patrolling, and with that, the disengagement, we have gone back to where the situation was in 2020, and we can say with that the disengagement process with China, you can say, has been completed.
Jaishankar made 3 points. He said, we reached an agreement on patrolling. This is correct. Next, we have gone back to the situation in 2020. Now here he gives that impression as if the PLA has vacated the territory that it had come to occupy. There is status quo ante and they have gone back to their positions of April 2020. This is incorrect. It will not happen also. They will not go back to those positions. I will explain in a while. Third, Jaishankar says, you can say disengagement process with China has been completed. This is a lie. It has not even begun. Even if there is a certain modicum of trust between India and China, in my assessment, this whole process of patrolling and disengagement that the two sides have agreed could take up to 1 year. So it has not even started, because let us understand how this will happen first. What is it that the two sides have agreed to? So the agreement is, there will be no moving back of troops, there will be no disengagement from either side, but either side can do patrolling up to 2 kilometers of the territory held by the other side, could even take their cattle for grazing there, but by informing the other side. For example, if the Indian patrol has to go 2 kilometers inside the territory presently held by the PLA, they have to inform the strength of the patrol, the day of the patrol and the timing of the patrol. And the reason for this being said is that this will help avoid misunderstanding about the limits of patrolling up to where both sides can go, and it could also help in building a certain confidence amongst the local commanders. So this will take time. It has not been specified how long this is to continue. But once a certain amount of confidence is built, then the two sides will decide that, all right, now we can disengage. So both the sides will go back 2 kilometers on their side, create a 4-kilometer buffer zone in between. In this buffer zone, now either side can patrol without informing the other side. This is the whole process, and this is how it is to be accomplished. And in my assessment, it is slow, but it will give certain benefits. And those benefits are that at least when this disengagement and patrolling agreement is being done, the fear of grey zone operations on the LAC, that suddenly the PLA will come and occupy unoccupied territory at tactical levels, that will diminish. It will not be there. So it's a good thing. And because of this, it may even be possible for the Indian side to pull back certain troops. After all, the troops are sitting at heights of over 15,000 feet. So again, it's a good thing. And a certain amount of confidence will be built up between the local commanders because they'll be working face to face. It is again a good thing because finally, when the question of the confidence building measures for these border areas will come up, I'll just come to that in a while, then it is these commanders who can make suggestions for the confidence building measure. But let me here clarify the issue about de-escalation. What de-escalation means is that the PLA will go back to the positions it held in April 2020. It will vacate what the media says, something like 3,000 square kilometers of Indian territory that it has come to occupy. This will not happen. PLA is not going back, and there are three reasons why it will not do. Reason number one, why did PLA come here in the first place? I mean, this is one question that Jaishankar repeatedly throws wherever he goes, that I don't know why they are sitting there. Well, he should know, because he is the one who traveled to Beijing on 11th of August 2019, a few days after what the government did on 5th of August 2019 in Jammu and Kashmir. Please recall that within 24 hours then, the Home Minister, Union Home Minister Amit Shah announced that new maps will be created of Union Territory of Ladakh, and Akshay Chin will be shown as part of those maps. Which is why Jaishankar had to travel on 11th of August to explain to the Chinese leadership that, look, we showing Akshay Chin as part of Ladakh on the maps does not alter the situation on the ground on the LAC. The Chinese rejected the suggestion made by Jaishankar. They said this is cartographic aggression. India never had anything to do with Akshay Chin. It has been with China, and this is the reality. So it was unacceptable to them. When Indian side did nothing, it is a response to that the Chinese in April 2020 came to occupy Indian territory, and at most places in East Ladakh today, they are sitting close to the 1959 claim line. So it is tit for tat from the Chinese side. Number two, Prime Minister Modi on the 19th of June 2020, everybody should remember this date. He publicly announced, he told the nation something that even China heard, that nobody is sitting on our territory. Now, when the Prime Minister says that, the matter is over. Nobody is sitting there. And the Chinese take it, yes, nobody, we are not there. They were sitting there. Third reason. Both sides on September 10th, 2020 in Moscow, they signed a joint statement. On the Indian side, Jaishankar; on the Chinese side, his counterpart Wang Yi. In the joint statement, there is a clear mention of disengagement only. There is no mention of de-escalation. As I said, de-escalation means you go back. It is not mentioned there at all. And they also mention in the joint statement that once the disengagement has been done, LC will now be called border areas. So therefore, this present agreement that has happened only for these two places, Demsak and Tepchok, once this disengagement is done, then we'll need the CBMs for the border areas. And this is exactly one of the key issues that was discussed, or rather was told has been discussed by Modi and Xi in their meeting in Kazan, that the two SRs, special representatives, they will be given the task to meet with one another and do two things. One is They will work on the management and peace in the border areas. No mention of LAC here, which of course they would take the help from the local commanders, because after all they've been working for that long time patrolling the whole process that I mentioned. A lot of inputs will come there. It will not be difficult at all to work on new CPMs by the two SRs. The second point, or the fundamental reason why the SRs were created, that is near impossible. I say near impossible, not impossible, because they have a mandate over to do two things. One is a border resolution. Now here there is a problem. India says the border with China is 3488 kilometers, whereas the Chinese say it is only 2000 kilometers. This is a problem. Number two, the Chinese now refer to the border, they have converted that into an issue of sovereignty, and they now claim the state of Arunachal Pradesh of India as well as the Union Territory of Ladakh. So this is not an easy task. It is near impossible, but perhaps over time, perhaps with the building of mutual trust, things can change. So the key thing is building mutual trust. So in this meeting which was held in Russia, were the two leaders, were they able to build trust? The answer is no. If anything, the distrust level has shot up a lot. And the reason for that is what Foreign Secretary and Jai Shankar claimed, that they tried to project that as a breakthrough of this patrolling and the disengagement agreement, was actually a concession or a suggestion made by the Chinese side. And that was made by China to the Indian side on August 29 at the diplomats meet which was held in Beijing. So the Indian side kept quiet starting 29th August on this offer made by the Chinese, and suddenly on October 21st they projected that as a breakthrough, something that they had accomplished against the Chinese, to show that it is basically a coup that they have done, and because of that the two leaders are meeting. So you see, these things, when you do these things, they don't build trust at all. In any case, the trust between the two countries, right from when Modi has been in power, has only been going downhill. Let me recall one or two instances for the viewers. Please recall the Wuhan summit that happened in 2018, immediately after the Doklam crisis of 2017. There, Modi and Xi held their first informal summit, and Modi agreed to two of Xi's suggestions. One was that both the countries will work. They will cooperate with one another under a formula which is called China-India Plus. That means you cooperate in connectivity, in development, in helping the third country plus. The third country is a smaller country of South Asia to begin with, could be Nepal, could be Afghanistan. So they said that we will work together and do this. Second, Modi agreed to Xi's suggestion that every year, once in Beijing and once in Delhi, once in India, there should be an informal summit where the two leaders can discuss issues informally. So what happened was that, this is my guess, but this is actually correct. Why Modi agreed to this is, the things with Xi, is because the 2019 general elections were around the corner, and the Indian side was worried that Doklam should not escalate into a war. That was the worry. Now, they had no intentions, the Indian side had no intentions to actually implement or to continue with the promises made there. Because what we see in 2019 is, the next year, when it was the turn of the Indian side to have the second informal summit, the Indian side first was very reluctant to give the dates to the Chinese for the summit. Finally, a date was given by much prodding done by the Chinese side of October 2019, knowing fully well that in that month there was a major exercise of the Indian Army called Exercise Him Vijay. being held in Tawang in Arunachal Pradesh, the area that the Chinese claim. The whole idea was that the Chinese will take umbrage and she would not come for the second informal summit, but she came. She came, and the second informal summit was held in October 2019 in Mahabalipuram in Chennai, where the key point that she made was not communicated by the Indian officials to the media. It was just kept under wraps. And the key point he made was, he told Modi that for peace and development of the region, it is important that there should be triangular peace, which means there should be peace between India and China, there should be peace between India and Pakistan. In any case, relations between China and Pakistan, they are very strong. So this is the suggestion he had made, but it was completely ignored by the Indian side. Now, as far as India is concerned, and we have consistently seen the foreign minister speak of, and you can read his book Why Bharat Matters, that we are now fully with the American side. In fact, the Americans are building up India, and Indians are aware of it, as a military bulwark against China in the Indian Ocean region. It's a big thing. Which is why Jai Shankar has said at so many forums that Modi government's Act East policy, which was enunciated in May of 2014 by this government, has been vindicated by the Indo-Pacific strategy of the Americans. So you see this, the level of distrust is very high, and this present meeting, where it was hoped it is happening after 5 years, there would be some level of trust built, some good outcome would come. In my assessment, we have not been able to achieve that. Perhaps the intention was not of the Indian side to achieve that. Why the intention was not there, I will discuss in my next video. Thank you very much.